What I need to do is hopefully be able to grab this link and paste it at least on the
Right.
fan page where people know it's happening.
Right.
I need to do is hopefully be able to grab this link and paste it at least on the
Right.
fan page where people know it's happening.
Right. Okay.
Here we are. I guess I am live.
Hopefully be able to grab this link and paste it at
Are you
least
hearing
on
that?
the page where people know it's happening.
Right.
I just don't need to watch it, but we are live.
All right.
We're going to hear echo. Let me go on Facebook, log in real quick, splash it there, and hopefully it will work out.
Sounds good.
And the beginning of the live video will be us talking about the technicality of it. It's going to be fun. I can trim it later. Every time something happens, it can.
Right.
That's the beauty of live. It's like live music, right?
Yeah. Anything can fall, everything can fall apart at the second, but
Exactly.
you can fix it, as you go.
Exactly. Here we go. Pages. Thank God that I know enough about technology to kind of move quick through these things. Otherwise, create a post, splash the link, post. No?
Oh, yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Technology to kind of move quick. I think we are live. Let me just specify here that
Okay.
click.
Getting a lot of like delayed echo,
Even now?
Not this second, but I did before. So, I mean, maybe,
So people know what this link is all about.
There you go. Always good to be well informed.
All right, viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. It is 1:23. We're a few minutes behind the clock. It's actually a different time than what I normally do for these episodes of Take a Break With. It's week 45 or 46, I believe. And for those of you who have been here before, you guys know that the scope of this is just to have a couple of times a week that I designated myself for my own recreational and mental health to just take a break, go on live wherever I am. Sometimes, like today, I'm here at the studio. Sometimes I might be on the road setting up drums, or I'll be in Italy or in New York. Wherever I am, I take the opportunity to unplug from whatever I'm doing, connecting here live and spending some time with you guys. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. So social media oftentimes are utilized to make our lives a little more complicated with too many things to do, to check out, and sometimes we lose touch with the people that were before in our lives, even before having the technology that we have now. I'm very privileged today. This is a clear example on how two people that have known each other for probably 26, 27 years. We're going to probably talk about briefly our first show together at the Berkeley Performance Center. That's where we met. And then we continued seeing each other on and off. And then at some point, 15 years ago, thank you to Maestro Frank Wilkins, we started playing more regularly in different ensembles. We recorded some music together. But this is a perfect example of someone who's on the West Coast now. I'm here in Boston. We decided to take a break, coming on a Zoom chat, splashing the link on my social media for anybody else who wants to join, say hello, and whatnot. Please welcome my dear friend, colleague, wonderful musician, vocalist, saxophone player, the one and only, like we all are, one and onlys, Mr. Pat Loomis.
What's up, folks?
I
Hi,
love your,
Sergio.
yes, Pat, I love your white background. Keep it clean and professional.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Are you sure you're home?
No, I'm in an 8x10 cell. No, this is my dining room actually. It's my dining room, and it's got the best lighting and the best backdrop to be able to do this. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
West Coast time, you're 3 hours behind.
Uh-huh. Hey, when I
Excellent.
was on the East Coast, I was 3 hours behind. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's just
It's first of all, thank you for taking the time. We actually tried to schedule this a couple of times, didn't work out. And today we have a little bit of a challenge because, believe it or not, Facebook restricted my account from being able to go live for 28 days. And I got the notice yesterday, and I didn't think it would affect my artist page, which is usually where I do these broadcasts live, but apparently did. And the reason why my account has been put on restriction is because I posted a photo in 2020, and it just got red flagged yesterday.
wow.
A photo of Clorox chewables made by President Trump. This was around the time where he had that little flip-flop, big flop saying that,
Bleach will cure COVID.
yes, something like that. And these funny memes came around, and I thought it was funny to post one. And Facebook, almost 2 years later, flagged it as a promotion of suicide. I was promoting to people to commit suicide. I actually didn't. That was the president.
Yeah, that was the president. And as I remember back then, some people actually did ingest bleach.
Oh.
Upon getting that suggestion from former President Trump.
And well, he also got some accounts banned. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
we're not here to talk about politics, but I hope everybody's able to watch this. I'm going to do a quick monitoring here. Go through my phone on the fan page, click on the link to make sure that we are indeed live. Otherwise, if we're not live, we could grab a beer, have a sandwich, and get casual. But instead, we're going to be very professional and stay on topic. We don't have a lot of time, but when Pat Loomis, which I just introduced as a brilliant all-around musician, playing saxophone, you play alto, you play soprano, and you sing great, correct? So when you moved to Los Angeles after how many years in Boston? You've been
33 years.
Right. So 33 years in Boston, you moved to Los Angeles, and everybody thought, wow, that's a big move. And it is a big move.
Very big.
My first question was like, I'm so curious, and I'm going to give it a few months, which we did, to hear from a person like Pat, who I knew you were going to get busy in no time due to your talents and the fact that you hustle and you show up and you like to work and get things done. I knew you were going to get busy, which you did. I said, I'm going to ask Pat to talk about the musical differences between the Boston scene, which obviously you know extremely well, and the scene knows you, and Los Angeles, where you have been 8 months. And I think it's a good amount of time to start putting things in perspective.
Yes.
I'll let you elaborate a little bit, maybe if you
can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I moved out here with my wife when she got a job, and that was at the end of October. And so I've been like you said, I've been here 8 months, and just about. And there are some definite differences between the Boston music scene and the LA music scene. LA being an industry center, in the sense there are a lot of record labels here, and also the film and television industry is based here. it's different kinds of gigs than you would have in Boston. In the sense that there's like, I mean, you know, you can do, I know guys that play on American Idol or The Voice, or there's Jimmy Kimmel Live, for example. There isn't really anything like that in Boston. So in that sense, it's very different. Additionally, the differences, I would say, there's a lot of live music here as there is in Boston. That's similar, but I would say Boston has a much stronger jazz scene, in my opinion. I'm not to say that there aren't great jazz musicians who live and work here, because there are, because I played with a bunch of them. But from my perspective, Boston does more sort of to promote its own.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's the Boston Jazz Society. I don't think there's anything, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's anything like that here. If there is, someone please let me know, because I'd love to be part of it. So,
Right.
but and you know, there's, you know, I mean, other than that, there's, you know, there's the live music scene's good. I mean, a lot of people here not only play in LA. Sometimes I know guys that have gone to Vegas to play, coming from here, which you think there would be enough musicians in Vegas, but I guess, you know, for whatever reason, you know, a fair amount of guys from LA get hired in Vegas.
So what's the commute? Sorry to interrupt, but what's the commute like? Is that something you drive to, or you want to?
You for Vegas, yeah, unless they're willing, unless whoever you're playing for has enough money, and there's plenty of money in Vegas, as we all know. Unless they want to spring for the airfare, you will drive. Sometimes they'll even pay for they'll have somebody drive you from LA.
So it is reasonable for an LA cat to take a gig, drive to Vegas, play, and come back.
Yeah, I know guys that have done it quite a bit, actually, you know.
Interesting.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's about a 4-hour, 15-minute drive, depending on which route you take. But the shortest one would be about 4 hours and 15 minutes, which is essentially
it's almost like for us going to New York.
Right. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Very accurate.
Of course, that's doable.
Very accurate parallel. Yeah. Beyond that, I mean, you know, although everything in LA seems to have, in LA proper, seems to have sort of the sheen of the entertainment industry about it, you know, whereas Boston's a little rougher around the edges, you know what I mean? A lot of times people out here, considering hiring musicians, consider the way they look, their age, even color skin, because appearance is a very big thing out here.
That's why you got super busy.
Is that what it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That explains everything.
Explains everything.
You got the package.
Everything. It explains it all. The further away you get from LA, like if you go out to the valley, the San Fernando Valley, or, you know, beyond that, if you go out to like east of LA, you know, it's a little less, it's less show busy, and it's more about, you know, your ability, which is really the thing that was kind of a shock when I moved. Is like, Boston, nobody cared how I looked, you know, they just like, can you play? And then they listen to you like, yeah, you can play, you got the gig. Whereas a lot of times there's a lot of other factors that go into things out here, which I know it is what it is, but at the same time, it's kind of disconcerting because it's putting style over substance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have been fighting, and we continue to do so on really making sure that players are hired because of their musical and professional qualifications. You know, there's been places where they do blind auditions because women were not getting the job, which is terrible. So never mind anything else. I mean, you know, it's I agree with you. It's like, can you play?
Right. I mean, be a play and are you professional? You show up on time, we be prepared, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know, and there have been, I know of people who have gotten gigs who are not the best qualified in those out here in those categories.
Yeah.
And you got to simply just, oh, well, they looked the part. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Probably that's probably the whole film and television industry influence, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, definitely more image driven, I guess. You know, one question I was curious is the type of gigs that here on the East Coast we call general business, right? Might be a function, a wedding, a private party.
Right.
Play a little bit of everything because there's a mixed crowd, and you don't know, there might be older, younger,
Right. Yeah.
different groups with different musical tastes. How does that relate to LA repertoire wise? Are there things that you would consider general business mainstream on the East Coast that if you play on the West Coast, people will go like, what's that? And vice versa?
No, it's the same repertoire coast to coast.
Interesting.
It definitely is. It's, you know, it's like, you know, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, that kind of thing. You throw in the odd Beatles tune, you know.
Okay.
You know, things along those lines. When I got hired to do some of that out here, and it's not as big, the general business or wedding industry in LA is not as big an industry as it is in New England.
Interesting. That I had no clue.
And in San Francisco, it's a bigger industry. In LA, not so much, which is really kind of odd because, you know,
it's a longer season.
You would think,
of the weather.
And it's not like there aren't scenic, you know, venues out here, you know, especially get along the Pacific Coast Highway. There's like, you know, Malibu and Santa Monica, just all the way. And there's even down to like Irvine and stuff. There's plenty of gorgeous, you know, Huntington Beach. I mean, I can name all these towns here, but there's plenty of beautiful venues that you could have a wedding at. And I don't know if it's they just go more for DJs as opposed to live bands. One thing I've noticed is that they're starting to mix the two.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to have a DJ but bring in a few live musicians, which is not as, to the best of my knowledge, is not as big a thing out in the Boston, New England area as it is out here. And I've done a little of that too. You know, and I always thought it was going to be strange. What am I going to do playing with a DJ? It's just like when you were playing along with records when you were, you know, a young musician trying to learn how to play, you know.
It's actually a pretty good learning experience, right?
It is actually a very good learning experience. And I actually I did one in New Bedford too, when I came back at the end of May. And with a good friend of mine who is originally from New Bedford, but he lives about 10 minutes from me in LA.
Pat, sorry to interrupt. I think
that's cool.
I think you're losing a little bit of your Bostonian roots. Can you say New Bedford again with the proper
New Bedford.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
I got very preoccupied that, you know, after only 8 months you started to talk.
Oh no, it's really funny.
A normal American. New Bedford.
Yeah.
New Bedford.
Yeah, New Bedford. But I'm telling you, what's really funny is like according to people here, my Boston accent comes out when I get excited or angry, you know, and it's like, oh, here comes Boston, you know, and everything like that. And I'm like,
yeah.
What are you guys talking about? I'm from Seattle originally, you know, I mean, where there's no accent at all. But
exactly.
But I mean, I every so often I do hear it, you know, you live someplace for 33 years, it's going to rub off on you at some point, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, there's that. But the wedding industry is for musicians is a much bigger thing out in general business, corporate functions. Yeah. Much bigger thing out in Boston, New England.
That I didn't know and didn't think so because of the length of the beautiful weather. But I guess it is what it is. You know, when you think about New England, it's not just Boston. You got the Cape, the Islands, New
Oh,
York,
yeah.
Connecticut. So a typical
Exactly.
band
Rhode
around
Island,
here
yeah,
would travel
Newport.
all over New England. For those of you who just tuned in now or a few minutes ago, I'm here with my dear friend Pat Loomis, and he moved to Los Angeles 8 months ago after 3 decades in Boston.
And Los Angeles has never been the same since.
Very good point. Very good point. Few months ago, I always follow you on Facebook.
Mhm.
I read something that caught my eye, and then I said, well, that's something that I'd like to address when I talk to Pat during this live podcast happening now,
Mhm.
which is the smooth jazz scene. That's a style that you and I both love very much. Probably
Yeah.
amongst the few people that in the Boston scene have promoted it or played it. There's a lot of jazz, mainstream, older school jazz, but when it comes to smooth jazz, as you know, Boston doesn't even have a radio channel, whereas the West Coast, there's a
They
few.
used to. They used to have a couple.
Oasis, I remember Oasis,
Yeah.
98.5.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And there was another one.
Before that, it
And,
was WCDJ 96.9 before that.
okay,
Yeah.
see that one I missed. But what's interesting is that on the West Coast, obviously, we all have this perception of the smooth jazz scene being bigger because of the smooth jazz cruises, the people living there, the radio
Right.
stations and clubs like Spaghettini, all that,
Uh-huh.
right? But when I read your post saying, where is the smooth jazz scene? I'm here to play smooth jazz. I can't find it. Maybe
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Well, from everybody's response to that Facebook post for people who live out here, Spaghettini's not in LA. Spaghettini's in Orange County.
True.
I mean, when people talk about LA, they kind of talk about the, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, and the truth of the matter is that, Los Angeles County is big, but it's not that big. And most of the smooth jazz stuff I've been told happens down in Orange County, which is about an hour away from where I live in LA. I live in the city. So, I mean, I played a little of it here, not as much as I thought. That was the thing that really which is why I posted that thing on Facebook to begin with. It was like, well, where is it all?
Yeah.
Because from like you said, from our perspective of being on the East Coast, it's like, oh, well, it's all, LA is all smooth jazz. Well, you have to define LA in order to sort of.
I'm sorry when I don't look in the cameras because I'm splashing the link in different.
Oh, no, that's cool.
Due to
Well,
this.
I thought you might be falling asleep for a second, but
No. I'm actually actively listening. I'm enjoying this, but I want to make sure that all the people that normally.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to post it on your page as well right
Good.
now.
Sounds good. So yeah, I mean, most of it happens out in Orange County, which is like, like Spaghettini is in Seal, the town of Seal Beach.
Yeah.
And Anaheim, and that's in Orange County. Anaheim, where Disneyland is in Orange County.
And the NAMM show.
The NAMM show, which I went to my first NAMM show, I had a blast. I had a great time. 3 days of trying instruments and meeting people in the industry. I ran into Mindy Bear, who I hadn't seen in 30 years.
I know. I read that. Amazing, huh?
Oh, God. It was so nice to see her because I hadn't seen her since she left Boston. And she was walking through and I was talking to some people and I went, Mindy. And she turned around. She's like, oh, my God.
And let me tell you, I'm a regular at the NAMM show. This is probably the first one I missed in so many years. The winter NAMM is much, much bigger from what I heard from people that attended this year, because first of all, it's an extra day. And then think about it. In June, everybody's gigging, all the big guys on the road.
A lot of people were gigging. And this was the first one, the first post-COVID NAMM.
Right.
In the sense that, I mean, it's obviously COVID still here, but it's much less of a, and I think they originally, I could be wrong, but I think originally they wanted to do it back in January, but that was when the Omicron variant started surging. Mm-hmm. And so that's when they're like, okay, we're going to wait on this. And I think next year, they're going to do NAMM in Anaheim in April, as opposed to
to probably space it out
June.
a little bit from the June one,
So
to give the
that'll
industry
be
to create
interesting
some new products and whatnot. I get
to
it.
see
Get it.
with more, you know,
Yeah.
more big names show up, and more like Yamaha was pretty much absent, at least from.
Yeah.
And
Now-
so, you know, I mean, it's a lot more companies. I think the further we get from 2020, the more companies will go to, you know, instrument companies and sound companies will be at NAMM.
Were
Plug
you
in stuff.
talking? Were you talking about Omicron 5.2.1 or Omicron 5.7.3.5?
Is there a difference at this point? I don't even know.
Well, you know, when you sneeze
That's
from your left side with the first variant, it's a little more on the wet side of things.
Yeah, well, then I think.
You need two tissues on the left side.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, well, you know, but I was told that this NAMM was much smaller in size and scope than, you know, the one in January. So it'll be, and now they're going to do it in April next year. So, I mean, I think they're planning on gradually getting it back to where it was for size and scope, and I'm in participants and things like that. I had a great time anyway. I loved it. I'm currently talking with a couple of saxophone companies about endorsing their product. So in that sense, it was great, you know, and like I said, I saw Mindy, I hadn't seen her in 30 years. I met people from all, you know, Selmer, Cannonball, you know, all these different Eastman, all these different companies, people in the industry. It was great. Joey DeFrancesco was there. I got to meet him.
With my friend Pepe was on drums. Pepe Merola was his drummer. From Italy. Yeah.
With Joey?
Yeah, with Joey.
Joey was just there by himself.
He didn't play trio in any of the boots at all?
No, he played just by himself.
Okay,
you know.
maybe something changed, but my friend Pepe Merola was a great drummer from Italy, was scheduled to perform with him. He has done so in the past.
I'm not.
He might have,
Joey,
you know, those people appear at different booths, you know, at different.
Yeah, that was great. I loved it. It was great. You know?
It might have been one of those.
I mean, you get to go around all day trying saxophones. What could be for me? Nothing. There's nothing. Not much better than that. Is if you're going to go to something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll tell you, we're all extremely grateful that COVID and all its variants is getting a little better. We are getting a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Tunnel, but of course, you know, as much as we threw a joke there on which variant, it was really, really rough, and of course, you know, unfortunate for many people that got affected by it. I think the music scene now. Before we went live, we talked briefly on how intense the pace is now, and from when I look at the calendar, you know, I'll give you an example. I played. Believe it or not, 3 weeks ago, I played a New Year's Eve gig. It was a makeup day for a 2021 New Year's Eve gig.
Wow,
True story. Crazy. Yeah, they you know, it was awkward.
So did they do the countdown and Happy New Year and everything like that?
The whole thing.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah. And they were, you know, we were outside in a tent. That alone, you know. You're like, wait a second, I'm in Boston and it's New Year's Eve and I'm outside in a tent. You know, something doesn't really add up.
I know. It's you know, I just remember last year, even 2021, once things started to open up. I mean, for me, after 2020 and not doing a lot, I was like, I would book as many things as I could in a day. Just felt like I had to make up for lost time. Like I would, you know, there were days I had like 3 gigs in a day.
Yeah.
Multiple times, and it was great. I loved it. You know, it's like, you know, we're getting back to what we're supposed to be doing, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, and let's hope that continues.
Now, you're one of those artists, and I know a few actually. During COVID, we all had the opportunity to, whether it wasn't a choice, we were forced to do so, but in that slowing down from some of the live activities, we got a chance to work on some side projects that maybe were postponed. I know you released a CD.
Yeah.
You were able to do so. Maybe, I'm just guessing, because you had a little more time to just work on your own music instead of bouncing from a club to the
Right,
next?
right, from gig to gig. Yeah. I mean, the genesis of that whole CD project, album project was started before COVID. And then when, with the guy who produced it, Aaron Bellamy. And so what happened once COVID hit in 2020, then it was like everything shut down. We were all locked in our homes and trying to be safe. And then it just kind of put it on the back burner. And then towards the end of 2020, I was around like October, November, I got a text from Aaron Aaron Bellamy was like, so we still going to do this? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So there were a lot of extreme measures that had to be taken to record just even the basic tracks with me in the rhythm section was, I mean, the amount of,
Space in between.
basic, I mean, which is kind of normal anyway, when you're recording, if you're recording live, because you got to get separations, there's not bleed through and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it was even more so, and then we had to wait. God, how many months did we have to wait? Wait about 6 months before we did the horn section tracks, because, in the wintertime, the numbers for COVID kept going up. And so it was like, okay, we're going to wait on this. And, that gave Aaron time and I time to really work on, review the tunes and get the mixes right and everything like that. And so it was, it took a lot longer than I wanted it to, basically. But I mean, I'm very, very happy with the finished product, and it's getting airplay out here, which is great.
Good. Let's tell our viewers the title of the album and where they can find it.
The title of the album is called It's About Time, because this is the first album I've done in 25 years, because once I had kids, I pretty much stuck to being a local guy as opposed to going all over the world and everything like that, and doing a lot of, going out of town to record and stuff like that. And so, I kind of just waited 25 years, and then when my kids were old enough, and then Aaron came to me with the idea to do it. And then, you can find It's About Time, which is very much it falls in the category, people who like categories, of soul jazz. Like, it's got a Rusty Scott on Hammond B3 organ,
Rusty, love
A Room Full of Blues. And so it's very much in that vein. 7 of the 9 songs I wrote. And you can find it on iTunes, Spotify, pretty much all your major platforms. Right. I would recommend going to iTunes and buying it. That would make me very happy.
Support.
As opposed to going to Spotify, where I don't get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, whoever is watching this, check it out. Maybe you can listen to a couple of sample tracks or full tracks on Spotify.
No, I'm really pleased that there's about 3 stations out here in LA that are in the LA area that have played it, which is and gotten great feedback. So
I love the title. It's About Time. There was an album by Manu Katché, also called It's About Time, which is a wonderful CD.
Did he wait 25 years to do a CD?
Manu Katché would, at the time he was drumming for Peter Gabriel, Sting, and he put out this wonderful release, and I'm pretty positive, 99%, that it's exactly the same title. So I released an album, and I'm not here to necessarily to plug it, but I will, because the title of the album that I released, it came out 3 months ago, and it started during COVID. October 2021 was the first session in Milan. We titled that "The Time Was Now."
There you go.
So, and again, it was about myself and a bass player who have known each other for 25 years and always talked about collaborating. And then the stars lined up. Mm-hmm. So when we were talking about how do we call this album, the time was now, had to be now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that came out of, I think for everybody, came out of the whole COVID thing is like, nothing's promised beyond today. So, do your thing and go for it.
And I guess we all realized, not that we didn't know it before, but a little more emphasis on how precious time is.
Oh,
Because
yeah, absolutely.
we
Yeah.
saw people going back and forth, unfortunately, and
Mhm.
left and right, not back and forth. But at that time, maybe we all got a sense of like owning now. We're in.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's the one good thing that came out of that whole experience, then, then it was a good, I mean, I personally think for me, I was like, I didn't need to go through all that I don't think I need to go through all that just to, be able to,
Right.
not take it for granted, but who knows, I mean, then we get into all like, what's the cosmic reason for everything? And that's
Yeah.
too deep for me today.
And so many people were stuck at home. Lots of us started going live on the internet or play some driveway type gigs, which
Oh,
you and I
yeah.
did a
You and I did
couple.
one with Kevin Norris. Yeah.
Exactly. Those were phenomenal initiatives. We really came as a community to bring music to people that otherwise, couldn't go to a
Yeah.
bar.
I know. There's, and some people are still doing that. There's a guy in Boston, a pianist, Nick Ladani, that's been doing this every Sunday. And when he gets into like spring and summer and early fall, he does an every Sunday concert from 6:30 to 8 up on Fort Hill in Roxbury. And I started doing those, and I did one when I came back, the first one for this year.
Ron Poster and Rich DeMare have been taking the Sinatra show during COVID. They would get hired by homes or even apartment complex and play by the window. They would just set up outside of the
That's great, man.
play, and everybody's out at the window enjoying the music and tipping, whether electronically or with real bills.
I remember
it was a great initiative.
The first week that everything just shut down, that towards the end of that week, Zeke Martin, great drummer, called me and said, "What are you doing right now?" I said, "I'm sitting at home. What do you think I'm doing?" He said, "Come to Franklin Park. He said, what's going on?" I said, "I'm bringing a snare drum and some sticks, and you bring your horn. We're going to play, and we're going to live stream it." And so it was just us in the middle of the park. People walk by and go, "Yay!" But I mean, I don't know how much the rest of the country did. I just, as far as, making chicken salad out of chicken bleep when it came to COVID. But Boston, I have to say, really responded well. A lot of musicians banded together. A lot of restaurants that had live music banded together, formed coalitions to get to do live stream concerts. When within their empty restaurants. So
absolutely,
it was great.
I managed to, take my personal studio to the next level, and then cameras because of the need to stream and be connected to the world.
Yeah.
A couple of minutes, because both you and I have to go at 2:00.
Yeah.
Lots of my viewers are, even if they're not live now, but on my channel, obviously I get many drummers. And I always ask my non-drummers guests to give a piece of advice. You're a band leader as well. Many times you may know 20 drummers, 30 drummers, but you can only call one. You got to make a call. Please tell my students, my viewers, my colleagues, when you call a drummer, what do you go for? What's your criteria? How do you choose the perfect drummer for your gig?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, it's like, I know, but I don't have to verbalize it. Somebody who a drummer is a number one. Time and groove have to be rock solid. That's the main thing.
Right.
No matter if it's a jazz gig or a funk gig or a rock gig or whatever. Having a good knowledge of material and not just
faking through beats.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really blessed out here to have played with, on a fairly regular basis, Marvin Smitty Smith.
Yeah.
And he knows, he just doesn't know, grooves and rudiments and things. He knows songs, he knows melodies, he knows chords. I mean, I've heard him calling out chords to, piano players or organ players who don't know. He's like, they're going, E flat minor 7, A flat 7, D flat major 7, that kind of thing. He's calling it out as he's going. So, so that always helps. I mean, I'm not saying you have to call every drummer I work with or I hire has got to call out the chords, but just have some sort of, really know the song.
Musical competence.
And that goes for every instrument, you can play fast, you can play high, you can play loud, you can play tricky, you can do all this, but if you don't know songs, what's the point? I mean,
these are all
so
great.
those are the two big things, and volume would be third on the list, but most drummers I call know how to play with dynamics, so it's not really a problem. Though, but I would say those first two things are really important.
When people ask me about dynamics, I tell them what Jaco answered at an interview. They asked him, Jaco, what do you think about dynamics? And he said, dynamics? I'm already playing as loud as I can. So I do the same.
I subscribe to that theory. I do. Yes.
Yeah, I do the same. People call me because they know I can use dynamics. In fact,
right.
loud as I can.
And as I find as I'm getting older, I'm actually digging playing softer more because
beautiful.
A lot of effort to put all that volume through the horn and stuff like that,
The last gig I played with you before you went to LA, it was beautiful outdoor party under a tent. And I remember we got into some real nice shapes and dynamics, and that made the whole difference.
Oh, fourth thing on the list of what you were talking about. I would say it's taste and restraint. I think it goes for all of us who are blessed with facility and ability to get around on our instruments, whether it's drums, saxophone, piano, whatever, guitar. Knowing what to play and when to play it. Yeah. That's a big one too, because absolutely. You're one of the best drummers for this, in the sense that it's like you play what's needed and you interact when it's needed, because there's so many guys that just try to be Vinnie Colaiuta and Dave Weckl, but it's not. But a lot of those gigs are not necessarily a lot of gigs don't necessarily call for what I mean. Right. And so, and if it was, that kind of gig where it's just a keep in time gig, I guarantee you, Vinnie Colaiuta and Dave Weckl are just
completely.
Yeah, because not every gig is a Chick Corea Electric Band.
No. They do those. They do.
Oh yeah.
Sessions.
I mean, I saw my brother who lives up in Seattle went to see Steve Gadd a few months ago at Jazz Alley up there, and he's like, he and I just went to play in Germany last week, and he was like, we were talking about it, and he said, it's amazing, everybody knows Steve Gadd for like, the solo at the end of Asia,
right,
on Steely Dan, and he said, with his own band, he's just playing time. He's just grooving. He's not playing anything extra. And he's a perfect example of somebody who's got the facility, but he's got like so zen. He's pared it down to.
Look, this is a perfect ending to prompt for a segue of this. I would really like to add.
We froze
one more time because there is something else.
You froze, Sergio. No.
You froze.
Oh, okay. I thought it was you. Okay.
No, well, we'll see. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But I wanted to say that we should save this for a second conversation. I'd love to have a second conversation. And talking about, because you kind of took from my post the music for musicians versus.
Oh, I wanted to get into that. Yeah.
And you're a great example of always knowing and always prioritizing the people. I know because I played with you for so long. I know you think like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is the perfect ending, to announce that, yes, we will do a second episode.
Yeah. And maybe I'll be in Boston when we do it. Who knows?
Yeah. We could even do it live here in the studio with a cup of coffee, sit down and
that'd be great.
Something different. So that if we freeze, we freeze of the AC being cold or something.
Yeah, right.
It won't be the screen. All right, Pat, I gotta go drive to Cape Cod. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I got some stuff. I gotta play tonight. So, man, love you, Sergio.
Thank you. Love you too. Thank you, all the viewers that are watching
Thanks,
this live.
guys.
We apologize for not getting to the chat, but with this new format on YouTube, I couldn't really do so. But I will make sure to read all the comments, and whoever watches this at a later date, thank you as well. Every Monday at 1 p.m., every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, take a break with myself and wherever I am, or whichever special guest wants to come with me, because everybody's special and unique. And so
Yep.
you might be next. Ciao.
Later.
Bye-bye. Thank you.